The model of breeding thoroughbred racehorses here in South Africa is primarily to service the racetracks of our country and further afield. And this particular fellow's name is Elmo. He's a full brother to the very talented Gilded Minaret, who was of course by Al Mufti out of the mare called Chasing Gold by Dancing Champ. How he got his name is because of the periodic table, which clearly tells you that Chasing Gold has a symbol of AU, or gold has rather, and of course his father was Al Mufti. Now, he unfortunately wasn't all that successful on the racetracks, and hence he was retired to the farm of his birth, which is here in the Karkloof, where the Chell Foundation breeds thoroughbred racehorses. They also hold the Spurwing horse trials, and he has become particularly successful with his new owner, who is Philip Benson, the son of Mike Benson, who of course runs Spurwing. Now, the reality is that many racehorses are either not good enough to go to stud, like Al Mufti or Captain Al, or for that matter National Emblem or Jetmaster or Dynasty. I could go on and on and on. But the point is that they have to be looked after and cherished once their racing career is over. And we're very, very pleased to say that this guy lives in the lap of luxury, and so too do many other horses who have found homes in the sport of eventing. We're going to have a chance to chat to Graham Wynne, to a guy by the name of Douglas Welsh, to Lee Markram. We're going to speak to Vicky Scott, who currently plies her trade overseas, and many other people that are passionate about this beautiful sport called eventing. So let's go and have a look at the Spurwing horse trials and catch up with people at the Polo International to give you some idea of how important it is for you to find the right home for your horse once he's finished racing.
No problem into the water. And cleared there into the water.
We bought Rathmore stud in 1999 with the intention of growing into a small multi-disciplined farm, being thoroughbreds and warm bloods. Warm bloods is a tougher task because it's a longer term project, so therefore the thoroughbreds really carried us on a yearly basis. You could sell off your yearlings and keep the farm running. My mother and father ran it from 1999 to 2004 when myself and Tanya then came down, and we've been running it since. We started with 4 mares And now we sit with a total of 190 horses, including our boarders. We do warm bloods on a very small fun scale, about 5 a year, and have a lot of fun. And we now breed a high volume of thoroughbreds.
I've spoken to lots of people recently who have been eventing, whether it's been at the Spurwing Horse Trials or whether it's been at the Polo International, and whether it's Graham Wynne or whether it's Douglas Welsh or Lee Markram or any one of the top riders, they all concur that there's something unique about the way in which a thoroughbred embraces his afterlife and the task of doing this dressage, the show jumping, this cross country. It's something that you have a very deep passion for, and we thank you very much for availing yourself of the sponsorship of the trials and the airing of this trials, which is very, very important to many breeders around South Africa.
Now, Andrew, I think a big mistake's made by a lot of us. You've got a case here where you say, oh, well, those are warm bloods, or oh, that's sport horsey. You know, actually, it's not. I need a market for my horses. There's some that are successful ones. Equal Image is a typical example. When their career is over in racing, they need somewhere to go, and for me, preferably, it's not under the ground. I'd like to see it bought. They're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. It's early in their career. I would love my horses to be sold and looked after and have a life after racing, which is a short term in general. If you take the average horse's lifespan, my horses can go, and they're competitive horses if they're good. So they've gone in and they make magnificent jumpers, inventors, dressage horses. And I would like that market to carry on. I think the South African market needs more thoroughbreds. I think the sway is towards thoroughbreds. This is the whole reason behind what we're doing. It's something further. It's not just the racehorse's life as a racehorse. It's as a sport horse, and that as well. And they love it. Equal Image is a typical example. He was a top racehorse. He's now competing in both eventing and show jumping very successfully. And he loves it. He's happy. And so is the rider, and that's what it's all about.
The thoroughbred horses are absolutely world class, and we've got the riders, and I think that it's absolutely, afraid to say I've more than likely missed the boat a little bit, but there's a lot of younger riders coming on, and I believe that the sport is going ahead, and I think it's an absolutely brilliant opportunity, but we do need the sponsors like we had today to help us get there.
I've always bought young horses, and funnily enough, they've always been thoroughbreds. I've for a long time said I must get a warm blood, and then I always come across a thoroughbred that really catches my eye. So all my good horses have been thoroughbreds, and Lagos, his racing name was Dragon Tails. He's really been a star. His dressage is really good, and he's sort of taking on the warm bloods in the dressage, which is really good. And then, in the cross country, he can gallop faster than them. But I think for me, thoroughbreds just suit me. They're light, and I don't like big, heavy horses. So, yeah, thoroughbreds is where I've landed up. I love producing young horses. I'm getting a little older now, so I don't see myself going to the top of the grades anymore, and I'll just keep producing young horses. Lagos is actually going to my daughter Ashley at the end of this year as her junior horse, so I'll be on the lookout for another one and produce that one and hopefully be back again.
You got to do the best with what you have. My horse that took me to World Equestrian Games is the cheapest horse I've ever bought. I've bought more expensive horses after that, and they've never been as good as this one. So you can get lucky as well.
Who are you referring to?
To Cardinal. Cardinal is a funny story actually. I never even bought Cardinal. Graham went overseas to Namibia to pick a few horses. He picked 2 horses, one for him, one for me. I told him just pick a horse. I'll take whatever you pick. Went there. I saw the 2 horses over the stable door. I thought, oh yeah, what did I buy? 6 years later, I'm riding around World Equestrian Games on a horse somebody else picked for me, and it was pretty much my cheapest horse I've ever bought.
Is that the same place that he got Zorba?
He got Zorba from there. He's rode Senator here. There's quite been a lot of horses from that stud, from the Fuchs Creek stud, Reinhard Fuchs, that's bred very nice eventing horses, especially because he combines a lot of thoroughbred in his warm blood breeding, being a German based. He brings a lot of thoroughbred in it, and it produces top quality event horses.
What's quite incredible actually is that Horse Chestnut, who's probably the greatest thoroughbred we've seen in the last 50 years, was out of a Colonel Pickering mare. Now I know that there's a lot of Colonel Pickering in Zorba. So it just shows that not only are they great racehorses, but they also have endurance, stamina, big match temperament.
Oh, that's for sure. Now, going to Colonel Pickering, my horse, I won SA Junior Champs, and my first SA Senior Champs was called Chevelle. He was also Colonel Pickering. And whenever we go back to Reinhardt in Namibia, I always look for the Colonel Pickering in the damn side, because you can't go wrong with them. They are just super quality, scopy, straightforward, good horses.
I happened to, by a bit of luck, to get Makoro. His previous owner was Carrie-Anne Radford. She did really well on the horse, and for personal reasons she had to sell the horse. I took the opportunity, first chance, took Makoro, did a bit of work on him myself. He's now, I've had him a year. At this show it's been exactly a year, and in that year he's represented South Africa twice. What a fantastic chap.
Interesting story though, because obviously he was owned by Mrs. Bridget Oppenheimer. He was trained by a guy called Stephen Page, who immigrated to New Zealand, and with Craig Udy having horses in the yard from Mrs. Oppenheimer, I'm sure that's how Carrie-Anne got to own him.
No, absolutely, and quite honestly, you get a bit lucky with horses. You never really know where they got the skill and the heart and the gallop and the jump and the soundness, I might add, to become a great event horse, because event horses go on for many years. They don't have a limited time period. We could take event horses and go on for 10 years with them. So there's a couple of critical elements. It appears he's got them all. And I used to help Carrie with her jumping and her cross-country training, and I realized there's something special about little Moxie, and that's his stable name with us. And he's turned out to be a fantastic horse for me.
It's called three-phase. Do you distribute time proportionately equal to show jumping, dressage and cross country?
Absolutely not. You know, I still believe 80% is flat work. It's all about earning trust on the flat, schooling, suppling, balancing a horse, and, you know, teaching them to do what you ask of them. But whether you go show jumping or eventing, it's all about the flat work. It's been incredible for us that we've had a lot of top show jumpers here today, and they all say, how do you do it? It's no different to show jumping. It's all done in the flat work arena to school a horse to what has been expected of it today. I believe we're in for great things, and next year I'd like to see even more people here, because it is a day out. It's fantastic for the family, for everyone to come and watch, and you know, it's great fun. I love the sport.
Initially I was quite nervous of the fact that the horse had, incredible talent naturally. A really sensitive guy, so I've had to take my time in getting to understand his little quirks and producing him as best as I thought possible. It's turned out to be great, because the horse is really teaching me more and more every day of the ideals of taking it easy in the beginning. Initially I was probably a bit too cautious because of the fact that I was trying to be protective. You know, I don't have 15 others in my yard. I've got limited access to good horses. Now, today, especially, he told me, hey dude, I've got this. You know, I try to go out there, an easy run just before Polo International Horse Trials. You know, he's been selected for the African Cup team. And I wanted him to just have a chill. And he didn't want that. He said, give it, you know. Yeah, absolutely. Please don't hold me back in the beginning. And I felt that. So the moment I realized, okay, let's listen to him. He's now taking me around, and that's where I want to be on my horses.
It's a great thing to be able to have these great top racehorses and carry on their lives and not just in them. And it shows that they were looked after when they were racing, that they can carry on their life in jumping and eventing and still compete at the top levels in that and carry on. It shows a good brain, a good stamina, a good well-being of the horse.
There's many that don't make good racehorses. So do we want to go send it to the slaughterhouse afterwards, or are we trying to create a market where people want to come back and say, the thoroughbred's a good horse? And you get some very big thoroughbreds. Some people don't like a smaller horse. You get huge thoroughbreds. So there's plenty of gaps for them. And I think in eventing especially, which is like spurwing horse trials, there's a gap for our horses to go to, and we'd like to see that gap used.
We've got ideas for next year that we'd very much like to start on the Saturday, obviously with the dressage, and see if we can get that a little bit earlier, possibly have a few more dressage arenas up. The dressage judges is always a bit of an issue, but we'll have to try and work around that. and then go from there into the cross country on the Saturday. We just feel that, you know, ending on the cross country is a bit of a damp squib, and you've got this huge build up, the effort that goes into an event of this magnitude, and then it just kind of peters out at the end. Whereas if we did the dressage and the cross country on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday we've got just the show jumping, everyone can still head home, particularly our faithful Gauteng supporters. Hopefully they can be on the road by lunchtime. But it just ends on such a climax, you know, with everyone knowing who's in the lead, and the announcing coming through from the show jumping side. We can then plot and see exactly who's lying where. And then on the actual prize giving, particularly for our sponsors, other than ourselves and all the other many sponsors that we get on board to make the event happen, it's nice for them to have that acknowledgement. That's what we're looking for 2016.
I think eventing is a great sport, and it's a fantastic opportunity of all-round horsemanship for any young rider coming through, and even more so for us top riders. I mean, you know, to be able to go abroad from South Africa, it's fantastic.
I originally decided to go over when I realized I had a dream of going to the Olympics and competing in the top grades, and so I realized I have to be in Europe or in the UK. And so I decided to follow a coach that I was interested in, and he's a French coach, and now I'm based over there, and I'm so happy over there, missing home every day, but loving to be able to compete at the top.
If we could get equestrian sport onto a television platform and we could sell it, we would go much, much further and much, much quicker. At the meeting I was at the other day, I tried to sell the idea that it shouldn't just be show jumping or eventing. We've got 9 Olympic sports, Olympic disciplines, and 5 others in this country. And I talk then of endurance racing, of tent pegging, polocross, and if we could find a platform to expose all of those disciplines 24/7 to a wider public, I believe that we would bring more people in. And I think for the television channel, if it was a TELLYTRACK type of channel, for instance, where currently we've got a captive audience where only racing people are watching TELLYTRACK, the other people from the other disciplines are going to become aware of TELLYTRACK because they're going to be wanting to see their sport, even if it's only on the loop. As long as the time is given and guaranteed, those people are going to become aware of TELLYTRACK, because I can tell you, having worked in the racing industry all my life and been in the sport horses all my life, I can tell you that 90% of the people you saw here today aren't even aware of horse racing, never mind that there's a television channel that covers it. And I'm very, very excited about what's to come.
So as we say goodnight to Elmo, we would like to take this opportunity of thanking Spurwing and indeed Rathmore stud, Mike McHARDY and Tanya McHARDY, for having the vision to afford us the opportunity to take this program to air with their very, very special stallion Noble Tune. Let's catch up with Mike McHARDY to find out exactly what he thinks of eventing, bearing in mind that his son is a very prominent rider, and he too was a very experienced rider, passionate to the last call. Our sincere thanks go to Rathmore stud.
Looking at the farm, I see stallion barns, so that tells me that there were obviously stallions on this farm before you got here.
Yes, and there's still stallions. We now have one we've just imported from America, Noble Tune. His half-brother's just retired to stud and stands at $40,000 US. It's a great family, no doubt the in-family in America. So from a thoroughbred point of view, we are really well set with a fantastic stallion and with a huge, magnificently strong broodmare band.
To actually stand a stallion is a huge leap of faith, but it's almost actually impossible to imagine that you managed to get the stallion into South Africa with his pedigree and his racing performance.
Yeah, I think we were very lucky. He was at a stage where he was injured and he was just getting to the end of that. They were going to put him back into training and race him again. And I think the disappointment and the waiting, our timing was just right. And we made an offer and we were lucky enough to get him. Yes, stallions, you get 2% of actual thoroughbred stallions are successful in this world. But I think if you've got the pedigree he's got, both male and female lines, there's absolutely no doubt your percentages increase massively. And then we've got, obviously, as I say, a great broodmare band, which will help him be successful. We still cover our bases. We'll always, we've got 40 broodmares, we'll always maybe give him 30 and send 10 to the top stallions in the country. I.e., all it does is assist us in making sure that if he does fail for whatever reason, we've getting in the money to keep us afloat.
But it's a very hands-on operation. I mean, you and Tanya are absolutely immersed in it.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, no stud, no anyone working with horses, if it's not hands-on, you're out. You've got to have your interest at heart, and you've got to have the horse's interest at heart. And I think it's very hard to find people that have got both those to bring in to run your farm. So you've got to be hands-on, and you've got to be totally committed, or you may as well throw in the towel.